Great. Okay, I did. Well, good morning. Thank you for joining this morning. As you know, this is going to be recorded. Um, we will get started with some information. I have the chat up, but I will try to probably take questions when we're done. And my name is Cheryl Wilson. I am the computer science consultant for the Michigan Department of Education. Gina might be popping on. If not, she is in charge of the open education resources area. We do have our MDE Ed Tech resource page. And actually, that I thought we were going to update that. I will share that out. We have a grants page now and making sure that we have that information up to date. Our email address, we're always available through the email address at the mde-edtech@michigan.gov. And so today, just kind of do some quick welcome with introductions and contact information, talk about the grant program goals, eligible applicants, a little bit about non-public schools, grant overview, key dates, a little bit about Nexus, and then questions. And so the goals of this, it's kind of two-pronged. To support districts with implementing open educational resources while documenting the process to share with all districts in Michigan, and or implementing computer science while documenting the process to share with all districts in Michigan. And then advancing the use and or implementation of OER and computer science materials to benefit student learning. So there's kind of two parts to this grant. You can apply for the open educational resources, and you could also apply for computer science. We'll talk a little bit more if you're going to apply for both. We do encourage districts to think more along one of those lines, but there are kind of two different objectives to this for the goals. Eligible applicants, when you dig in, are intermediate school districts like ISDs and your RESAs, local education agencies, which are generally your school districts, and then public school academies. And then non-public schools consultation. Part of ESSA requires that districts provide equitable services, and they need to ensure if there are private schools within their boundaries, that the private schools are consulted as part of the title process. And commonly what this means is if you are going to be providing, like, let's say, computer science workshop on computational thinking, that you would ask those non-public schools if they would like to join in on that. You do not have to pay them stipends or sub costs. Basically just inviting them if they would like to join on in part of that learning process. When it comes to if a district is going to do script, it probably doesn't make much sense to invite them because that's going to be your own district work with script and how you would be utilizing, kind of your resources and what your process is for script. We suggest that they would ask to have their own script process if that was something they were interested in. So as I kind of mentioned, here's the example. If there's professional learning opportunity, offer that to the non-public educators as well. And that's pretty much what it's limited to. If there's more questions, please feel free to ask us though. So as we talked about, grant overview, explore the use and adoption of open educational resources, or OER. And then also the other part, completing a computer science education pathway, or both. We do not suggest both. Each takes its own amount of work and capacity, and there's not a lot of districts that I know really do have the capacity to do both of these. So we do suggest you look one direction or the other. If you think you're interested in doing both, maybe reach out to us and ask a few questions. If you want, if you're thinking of doing it, a lot of districts, it is a difficult thing to do. So we suggest you think one way or the other. When you go to apply, there are some levels that you'll need to select when you're in the grant application. So for OER, you will notice you can select less than 1 year that you've been looking at implementation. You've been doing implementation between 1 and 3 years, or you're 3+. And so districts that, second here, I need to admit somebody, I think. Okay, I think they're in. Okay, sorry about that. So districts that it's their first time applying for the OER will apply. They can apply for up to $14,500 in funds, and that is $7,000 for in-district work, which would probably be more like some meetings, possibly summer stipends, supporting that, kind of building the process of implementing OER. And then $7,500 for travel to go see OER happenings in another district. And that's strongly encouraged. It should be enough funds to send a team out of state even. And I think a lot of districts learn a lot by doing that. Previous OER awardees can apply for the $7,000, and you're allowed 3 funding cycles, and I can go over that a little bit more later. You're allowed 3 funding cycles to receive these funds. And so if you've already applied, you would apply at the $7,000 level. For computer science, the computer science, you select either you are novice or emerging. So novice means you really don't have much CS going on, maybe one class or, maybe a club. Not really much planning has gone on. Emerging, you might have some planning going on, but not much of a coordinated effort. A lot of districts in Michigan are emerging, I would consider. Those districts, if it's their first time, can apply at the $20,000 level to support various things, and we'll go over sample activities. There's also the $10,000 level for districts that are developing. So if you've been through script and you've received like prior funding, you would definitely be considered developing. You can apply for the $10,000. There's moderate CS implementation. Usually you have a plan, and that's what you develop through script, and you're working on it, but there's some gaps. There is also the highly developed and also highly developed receiving prior CS funding. You have pretty full implementation, but you have a few little gaps that you'd like to kind of close up. And so those would be the levels that districts will need to apply at. So sample grant activities, potentially sending your district, some people from your district, to a conference. It can support that. Implementation of integrated computer science using robots. So a lot of times districts want some of those tools and devices to use. This can support, especially with computer science, some of those funding requests. It does not generally support, we do not, like the purchase of computers is something that we are considered unallowable. We know that districts in general have funds through other means for that. And we suggest that you pursue other funding sources for that. But basically, like districts wanting Spheros, this is open for that. We know that a lot of times you need money to support meetings and work in the district. This can support those stipends and the sub funds around that. Maybe you want some folks in your district to take professional development, like there's a Michigan virtual OER course. This can support that time that they are using to take some of that, like a 3-hour course. You could pay your teachers back for that time. Maybe membership to some different organizations, more CS related, not too many OER ones there, such as the Computer Science Teachers Association, which is $50 a year. You get access to a lot of great resources, or maybe like a Civil Air Patrol lifetime membership. The application dates, this actually opened last week, Monday. And applications are due March 18th, which will be 2 Mondays from now at noon. We will definitely looking by the end of April to have awardees determined. The award period would start February 1st and go through next year, September 25. Districts that, one of the things we were coordinating, some districts on the computer science end found out that they had access, they applied and have access to funds through 99B now. I know some are doing some modifications. We wanted them to sort through that and figure out what they had funds available for that before they would apply for the implementing effective use of technology grants, so that they wouldn't be trying to ask for the funds, the same funds in two different things. So hopefully if you have any questions on that, I can try to answer that a little bit later as well. We have some instructions and I can share with you, like this is with Nexus. The one thing to remember with Nexus is you need to have a level 5 person initiate the grant application. And so if you have questions on that, there is a document. And I think just in case, I'm going to throw in here, because I know a few people joined a little bit late. This is the access to the slide deck for those of you that maybe didn't have it. And then we have questions that we have an FAQ document, but I also want to share with you, we have the overview. So this is the overview, and this will be a very helpful document. So this is the overview I just threw in there. And that's a document that I have up here. It kind of goes through a lot of things, how much of the funds are available. And then some of the things I talked about, what you can apply for in OER and the amounts. And then also in computer science, the goals, has your timeline. It goes over a little bit more. What are those allowable activities? What are some unallowable expenses? And I know just learning through like the 99B, some people are like unallowable. That's not the terminology that we picked. That's part of the terminology built into Nexus. These are some things that, you know, we're not able to allow, or we, you know, decision wise, we're just not going to award it because there's other ways that they can get the funds. Again, it goes over those levels. One thing for districts, we talked about districts can apply for up to 3 funding cycles. And one note on this, it does not include if your district is getting 99B funds, that is not something we're including in the list here. But,
Yes. I have a quick question.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's like I'm half paying attention.
Okay.
One of those.
Yes. Good question.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So the public awardee list, if you have a question, if your district, where are they at on it, they can go ahead and check that out. There are the 5 different sections that you will need to have kind of some written part of the application. And then there's the budget. And so we do strongly suggest you go through this, you read through this. What are the things that you need to have as part of your application? This is the review criteria as we go through. We've tried to share with you how we are awarding points and things that we're looking for. Make sure you look at that highly competitive column. And then down here, again, we go over application considerations. And then it goes into a lot of the reporting and stuff. So again, do look through this. What I do want to point out for sure, though, is at the end of this, we do have some different documentation. We have the instructions for Nexus, this slide deck that I used earlier. I have the FAQs that I'll go over. We'll have the recording linked in here, but also here is the template. If you want to start and you want to start crafting some of those responses, this will be a template that you can start and then just simply port your answers over into the Nexus application. We do get a lot of questions that this hopefully will help. We suggest that you look through the question, the FAQ first. I know I just filled in a question this morning. How much time is involved for a script workshop? So if your district has not been through script, this answer is that it's pretty much like a 1-day workshop. And there's some pre-workshop activities. You can pay stipends and subpay. I did add this note, and this is the MySTEM Computer Science Action Area has agreed to cover costs for script. Therefore, you don't have to put in money for script to have that covered if you've not been through it. And so as you look through, you know, our district's already been through script. I tried to answer that one as well. We've tried to answer as many questions as possible. And so I think with that, what I'm going to do is go ahead and open it up for any questions that some of you might have. But I mean, this is pretty much the information that we have available. We're here to answer questions as much as we can and to help support you with OER or computer science. So if there's any questions, if you just want to unmute, or you can throw it in the chat, and we will do our best. If you've got all you need, you're welcome to pop off, and have a great rest of your day.
Cheryl, one thing I think I would add also is that we have learned over the last couple of years is if you are budgeting for conference attendance, really try to choose conferences that meet the needs and the purpose of the money. Example, a lot of folks will look at, oh, we want to go to ISTE. Like that's probably one of the bigger ones that we see an awful lot between several grants. The question then becomes, does that conference have enough computer science and or OER content to make it worth your while to really move your initiative forward in your district? Or does it make more sense to attend a computer science focused conference or an OER focused conference? Now on the OER side, because that's the side that has been part of my work for several years, I can tell you that OER conferences are harder to find. And the past 3 years, ISTE has had like one session around OER. So ISTE would not be probably the best choice for conferences on the OER side. I would encourage folks to consider attending the National OER Conference, which is typically, it's a virtual conference in about the first week of November is usually when that happens. We do have a Michigan OER conference that is held typically in that August, September, October timeframe. I don't think they have decided on the dates or where that's going to be quite yet. That's still, I'm part of that group. So I think that they've been looking for, it's usually held at a community college. We try to find someplace fairly central. But that's been a thing for about 5 or 6 years too, that we have a Michigan OER conference. So I just want to put that bug in your ear to try and, if the conference route is what you're considering, maybe for some of this grant money, if you're awarded, to really hone in on making it specific to that task and not just a general, oh, this would be a great conference to go to.
And just to add on to that, the more specific you can be, like, we're looking to have 10 teachers with some administrators, like giving us numbers and details. A lot of times we, you know, and why is that conference useful? Because I think we were looking through the 99Bs, and it's great to go to conferences, but we want to make sure this is the reason, there's a good reason behind it. And then how many people are attending, the more details you can give us, the better we can figure out what your plan is. And if that is something that we can help support through that with these funds. So yeah, any other questions that folks have?
I will say I recognize a few of the names in the list today, so yay! It's good to see some of these names popping back in and looking for more information around this grant. We're excited you guys are here.
Oh, Margie, dates for the script trainings. That is great. I am going to be working with some of my other script facilitators. I have 3 others in the state. And we're going to look to maybe do some regional connections. I need to, let's see here. I have I think we're going to try to offer some potentially before this end of the school year. And then maybe some that might need it near the beginning of next school year. And sometimes I'm going to say, we can sometimes do individual script workshops. Right now, we are kind of looking at a little bit more like doing some multi-district ones because we have so many to do around the state right now. So I know I didn't really answer your question detailed. What region are you in, Margie, if you can help me out? Or what district? Because I'm not Hazlitt. Okay. Yeah, I'll keep that in mind, and then maybe I can, like I said, we're going to be reaching out. I will probably be part of most of those trainings, so I would be the one to connect with, if you want to know a specific date, because right now we don't have those dates, but we're pretty flexible in offering those when districts need it. And Jamie, I see that you're on here, and let's see here. Any questions from like Jamie or Christian or Alana? Sorry if I misspelled it or mispronounced it.
The only one that I really had was, so you have to choose the following years. Like if you get OER figured out and then you want to move more computer science, can you then go, like, can you flip flop? Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes. I think if you only want to apply for like OER, you really don't have to do the CS, the computer science portion of it, if it makes sense. You might have to answer, I don't think you have to answer both of those if you don't want to. You can answer one or the other, or you could do both. So,
Okay.
But you can also get 3 years of OER money, and then you say, well, now we're ready to get into the computer science stuff. So then you can do 3 years on the CS side as well.
Perfect. Yeah, that was more of what I was thinking.
I'll put a note on there.
okay, so great question. Yes, the 99B was very specific for professional learning. And I think a lot of districts started to understand that. So if you're getting a lot of what you need, and part of it is if your district has not been through script, you're going to be like, I don't know what we can spend money on. And so we do recommend a lot of districts go through script and kind of figure out what is the plan. Because if you don't really have a plan, that's the biggest thing we see in the applications. Like, hey, we just want money for this and that. We don't really know what we're spending it on. So it might, and some districts maybe need to pause. Like, okay, we got 99B funds. We're going to get ourselves started. We're going to get some teachers trained and go through script. Maybe this will be something I'm going to pause on applying for the IET grant until next year. The IET grant will be one that comes up every year right now. We're able to fund this every year. People might ask, are 99B funds coming back? We don't know if there will be another round of that. We're working to try to get that. And if you want, reach out to legislators and help, hey, we need some more of those 99B funds. But for sure, the IET grant funds will be at each year. And if you're not at that point for this right now, that's fine. That we understand that. There we go. Gina put in there. Yes, 99B is that school aid money. And that's why there were some kind of restrictions on that. IET is more of the MDE grant. So it comes from kind of two different pots.
We never know what we're going to get out of school aid money. That's the last 2 years. That's been like a lot of new legislation. So we never know. We don't have any control over, we're not often involved in conversations around some of that thinking, because that comes straight from the legislature. But the IET grant, Cheryl and I have worked very hard to scrape together a lot of as much funding as we can find. So that one is coming back year after year. So yay.
Sounds good, Jamie. Yeah, please feel free to reach out with questions. We want to do what we can do to help you, support you through the application process, so. Any questions, Christian, or? And yes, Margie, we are super happy that we can offer the grants. We want to do whatever we can to give the districts, their jump starts and however we can. Yep, Gina put in there the email. I'm going to stop recording because if I could figure out where that is.